Friends set a single dad up with a deaf woman as a joke, until he made her smile, silencing them. No one in the crowded park expected the afternoon picnic to end in stunned silence. What began as a cruel joke among a group of friends became a life-changing moment when a widowed single father ignored every whisper, every laugh, and every mocking glance to sit beside a quiet woman everyone else had underestimated. Minutes later, the smile that slowly appeared on her face said more than 1,000 spoken words ever could, and the people who had laughed the loudest suddenly had nothing left to say. Before this heartwarming story continues, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to Heartwarming Tales for more emotional stories that remind us how one act of compassion can change a life forever. Marlon Hayes had learned that life rarely followed the plans people carefully made. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife to a sudden illness, leaving him to raise his 6-year-old son, Kian, alone. Every sunrise brought another list of responsibilities. He prepared breakfast before dawn, packed school lunches, worked long hours as a landscape designer, and somehow still found enough energy to help with homework, bedtime stories, and weekend adventures. The grief never completely disappeared, but he refused to let sadness steal the joyful childhood his son deserved. His friends admired his strength, yet they often worried he had forgotten how to enjoy life for himself. Determined to convince Marlon to start dating again, several friends organized a community picnic in the city park on a warm Saturday afternoon. They secretly arranged for him to meet a woman they barely knew. Instead of introducing them out of kindness, they viewed the situation as harmless entertainment. They believed neither person would be interested, and they expected an awkward encounter that would give everyone something to laugh about later. None of them realized how unfair they were being to both people involved. The woman waiting near the flower garden was named Elara Bennett. She had been deaf since early childhood and communicated mainly through sign language, written notes, and expressive smiles. Years of facing people's assumptions had taught her to recognize pity long before anyone spoke. She had become an accomplished children's illustrator, filling books with colorful characters that communicated hope without needing a single spoken word. Although her artwork touched thousands of young readers, loneliness often followed her home because too many people judged her disability before discovering her remarkable heart. When Marlon arrived holding Kian's small hand, he noticed Elara sitting peacefully beneath a blooming tree with a sketchbook resting on her lap. She smiled politely, though she seemed prepared for disappointment. Before anyone could explain the situation, Marlon noticed the uncomfortable expressions and quiet laughter spreading through the group. He immediately understood that something about the meeting had been arranged as a joke. Instead of feeling embarrassed, he felt disappointed that grown adults could treat another person's dignity so carelessly. Ignoring the whispers behind him, Marlon simply sat beside Elara and greeted her with a warm smile. Communication began slowly through handwritten notes on a small notepad she carried everywhere. Kian, naturally curious and wonderfully innocent, became fascinated by her graceful hand movements and quickly copied a few simple signs she patiently showed him. Within minutes, laughter echoed between the three of them, not the cruel laughter from the crowd, but genuine joy created by kindness, patience, and curiosity. The mockery around them slowly faded as people realized something unexpected was happening. As the afternoon sunlight filled the park, Elara sketched a quick portrait of Kian chasing butterflies through the grass. The little boy stared at the drawing with amazement, convinced she possessed magical talent. Marlon watched his son's excitement and felt a warmth he had not experienced in years. For the first time since losing his wife, he saw someone connect with his child without forcing conversation or pretending to understand his pain. Elara simply offered kindness, and that was enough. Over the next several weeks, Marlon asked if they could meet again during the daytime. Their friendship grew through visits to botanical gardens, community art fairs, libraries, and neighborhood festivals. They discovered that meaningful connection depended far less on spoken words than on shared moments, thoughtful gestures, and sincere respect. Marlon even enrolled in a beginner's sign language class each evening after work. His hands often moved awkwardly at first, but he practiced tirelessly because he wanted to communicate with Alara in the language that made her feel most understood. Kian eagerly joined the lessons at home. Together, father and son labeled household objects with sign language illustrations taped to walls and cabinets. Their small apartment became filled with laughter whenever they accidentally mixed up signs, yet every mistake brought another lesson. Alara watched their determination with tears in her eyes because no one had ever worked so hard simply to meet her where she was instead of expecting her to do all the adapting. Months later, the same group of friends gathered for another community event. This time, they watched in complete silence as Marlon confidently signed with Alara while Kian excitedly translated simple phrases he had learned. The woman they had underestimated now stood surrounded by children asking for drawings, parents thanking her for inspiring their families, and a man who respected her exactly as she was. The cruel joke had quietly transformed into a lesson about empathy that no one present would ever forget. Several friends approached Marlon afterward with genuine regret. They admitted their actions had been thoughtless and hurtful. Watching the friendship between Marlon, Kian, and Alara had forced them to confront their own assumptions about disability, love, and happiness. Instead of responding with anger, Marlon chose forgiveness. He believed people could change when they were willing to learn from their mistakes, just as he had learned an entirely new language for someone who mattered. As another beautiful afternoon came to a close, the three of them walked through the park where everything had begun. Children played beneath bright blue skies while gentle breezes carried the scent of blooming flowers. Alara paused to sketch one final picture, a father holding his son's hand while walking beside a smiling woman beneath a wide, hopeful sky. She handed the drawing to Marlon, who realized it perfectly captured something he had almost forgotten after years of grief, that families are not always rebuilt through dramatic moments. Sometimes they grow quietly, one act of kindness at a time. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment below, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to Heartwarming Tales for more inspiring stories that celebrate compassion, hope, and second chances. Special request: comment, kindness speaks every language. Red heart, if you believe respect and compassion are more powerful than prejudice. As the golden afternoon sunlight slowly faded across the park, Marlon realized that the greatest gift life had given him was not another chance at romance, but another chance to believe in people. The friends who once laughed stood humbled, the little boy who simply wanted everyone to be happy had gained a wonderful role model, and the woman who had spent years being overlooked finally found someone who saw her strength before her silence. In the end, it wasn't words that changed their lives. It was patience, understanding, and one unforgettable smile that silenced every voice of doubt.